We're smooth 98.1 FM, 16 minutes past the hour of 8 o'clock, the 29th of November, 2023. It's time for us to get inside the locker room and we say good morning to Tega Onojiafe.
Good morning. All right. So where do we start this morning?
Start from here.
So there was Champions League last night, and there's going to be more matches played today, and then tomorrow there'll be the Europa. We'll talk about all of that. Let's also touch a little bit on the CAF Awards. Nigerians are swimming at the top of those final lists. We'll touch on that a little bit, and then we'll talk about Tiger Woods. Yes, I know you call me Tiger, but the real Tiger is out of the woods. So we'll be talking about him coming back to play a tournament that he's hosting. But before we do all that, Omatseye, how can we be a part of this wonderful locker room?
To come close to the tiger that is not the real tiger, but she's Tega Onojiafe, you need to get a call across, send a message across to 0809-444-0981 WhatsApp messages that brings your reactions to the sports story she will be unbundling, breaking down for us this morning. Or you can race down if YouTube is your style, youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then leave your comments there. Tega, that does it. So let's begin.
Let's begin. Headlines.
So we on the bill this morning, we've got CAF Awards, Oshoala, Nnadozie on final shortlist as Rusty Tiger curious about form at back free comeback. Then Mbappe rescues PSG with last gasp equalizer against Newcastle, as there will be Barca, Dortmund, Atletico, and Lazio into Champions League last 16. Then Erik ten Hag urges Man United to keep calm in Galatasaray cauldron, as well as there would be win at Dortmund was key for Bayern Munich improvement. That's according to coach Tuchel. There would be also Arsenal belong at this level in Champions League, says Arteta. Then trials to improve player behavior, including sin bins approved by IFAB. Then would come Liverpool set to clinch place in Europa League knockouts.
Let's start from the CAF story. The Nigerians that are making it at the top of the table.
From the top will come this, the Confederation of African Football has announced the final shortlist for the women's categories of the 2023 CAF Awards, with Asisat Oshoala and Chiamaka Nnadozie making the cut.
Yes, so the remember the CAF Awards for the men, Victor Osimhen is a name that is swimming, and already we have started to write our placard just in case anybody's thinking of doing anything. Because we know so far from last season, Victor Osimhen was the highest ranked player by performance. So all the Salahs and the Mahrezes, Victor Osimhen was number 8. You can't come and now say that we cannot win number 1 in Africa. So on that note, we are still waiting for that final vote. But on the women's side, Nnadozie had a particularly amazing year. And then also, if you think about the World Cup, and then you think about her team in the Champions League, a fantastic year. Asisat Oshoala also had an impressive year. In fact, I'm sure she is the one with best picture from the Women's World Cup.
I have that somewhere. I am keeping that for a very long time to come.
Yeah, and so you do remember her team was also explosive and impressive. And you do remember her team was also expressive and impressive in the Champions League and in Europe, all of Europe. So we are expecting to be bagging those awards. I don't want to hear Tales by Moonlight. Okay. Those awards should be ours, all right? So, but it's impressive to have a lot of Nigerians with great individual performances, at all these awards. Hopefully, that will translate into some brilliant team performance, at least for the Super Eagles, because with the Super Falcons, we are not complaining too much. But with the Super Eagles, the jury is really out.
Every time you say good things about the Falcons, it seems like there's a way you must go for the deficits somewhere, because we must be
I don't
reminded.
have to go for, I'm not going for deficit. It's not like I'm having to dig for all these things. It's right there in your face.
Like
Two
that, right?
points, 2 points from 2 qualifiers against Lesotho. Let's not even start. It's too early in the morning.
Okay. So let's move away now, as the Tiger, like you said, is out of the woods in a way. Tiger Woods said on Tuesday his right ankle is without pain and he's not concerned about walking 72 holes this week in his return to competition for the first time since April ankle surgery.
Oh, right. And that has been the problem with Tiger. I could have had a more impressive career. Don't get me wrong, his career is already fantastic, filled with a lot of highlights. There's a reason why they call him the greatest of all time when it comes to golf, regardless of the fact that Jack Nicklaus has the higher number of majors. But his body has somehow let him down time and time again. I remember one time I was reading one article about when he had the back pain and how he lay on the floor for a while because he had no domestic staff in the house at the time, and he couldn't move close enough to reach his phone till somebody now discovered him. So there was that, and then we went from back to knee, and then to ankle. So his body has been, well, breaking down, and you can't say it's necessarily old age per se, but he's had the surgery and according to him, he's walking pain free. So that's the most important thing. The fact that he can move around pain free. Next is to see what form he is in when he starts taking on the 72 holes come Thursday in this tournament. So that's impressive to see. The first thing is that he can walk without pain. And that's great because when we are looking at these athletes, we're not just thinking of their career, we're also thinking of life after the career. I remember one of the reasons Roger Federer said, "I'm done." It was like it's not because of I can't play tennis. It's like the doctors were saying at some point that by 60, I may not be able to walk if I don't have the surgeries. And so
Yeah.
those are the issues that we look for. We look at when they come back from all these surgeries. So pain-free is the first step. Then we'll see how game rusty he is when he starts, when the tournament starts on Thursday. But great news that he's even able to compete at this stage in his career.
Wishing the Tiger very well as we move on to France, where Kylian Mbappe struck a controversial penalty deep in stoppage time to earn Paris Saint-Germain a 1-1 draw against a valiant Newcastle side and kept their Champions League destiny in their own hands on Tuesday.
Yeah, and just every time I think I know what the handball rule is, one referee just throws in another look and says, "Well, Tega, you really don't know." Because yes, it was a dodgy one, and I would say this, last time PSG took on Newcastle, all the papers in France came out with their pitchforks and their machetes and their 2x4s, for Luis Enrique, talking about the formation he used, how he should have played this person, how he should have changed things at halftime. This time, I can't blame Luis Enrique for this one. Because if you watch that match yesterday, it was a horrible display of football by the people on the pitch who are supposed to be executing their duties and they didn't. And you saw chance after chance. It wasn't, I'm not saying that they created one or two chances. These were clear-cut chances that, under 17, if you watch the under 17 World Cup, you see those 15-year-old boys bearing those chances. Players that came with 50 million price tag could not bury those chances. Bakola was one of the biggest culprits yesterday. Chance after chance that fell to him that he should be scoring blindfolded. He missed those chances. Mbappe missed a couple. Dembele missed a couple. And you at that point in time, how do you blame Luis Enrique? Because the ball was there. Just put it over the line. And so I don't know who they're coming for, but finally, I would say this: PSG were rescued by the referee because I wouldn't call this a penalty. The ball comes into the 18-yard box. It bounces off the defender's torso onto his hand. So ideally, you wouldn't see that given because it came off his torso onto his hand. Like it was too close. It was too quick. there are those indices that they take into cognizance.
Was the hand beside his body or stretched and just what's really so?
Look, once it bounces off your body, like there's not much you can do. Okay. You can't detach your arm from your body. There's not much you can do. That's the point. That's the reason it's not given. It's not that it didn't hit your hand. It's just that the angle at which
it's part of your body and
the distance is crazy to be giving that. And so I've seen it several times not being given. But this referee, VAR calls the referee. And so ultimately, the final decision of whether to give the penalty or not lay with the center referee. And the center referee goes to the monitor and he sees what I saw. And he called it a penalty. And Mbappe buries a penalty and he's celebrating like he just won the World Cup. I was like, dude, people played for 98 minutes. You couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. You're celebrating this dodgy penalty. And so they got away with one. And yes, their fate now lies in their hands, but they haven't been impressive. They haven't been effective. They haven't delivered. And I hope that the newspapers, the French newspapers today will say the same thing that they were saying. And they will come for the players because this time it was clearly on the players. Chance after chance. Chance after chance. You can defensively, I think Newcastle had maybe 5 looks at goal. And every time Newcastle were inside or in and around the PSG 13-yard box, it looked like it was going to be a goal. PSG, on the other hand, dominated possession, created chance after chance, just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. And at that point, you cannot blame Luis Enrique because he's not going to lace up boots and get on the pitch and score those chances. His players are supposed to do that. Okay, all right, so they got saved by a dodgy call. But yes, their fate is now in their hands. It comes down to the last day to see if they will perform and qualify.
Okay, well, let's allow PSG rest for a moment as we go over to Spain.
Let's call them out.
Barcelona, Borussia Dortmund, Atletico Madrid, and Lazio all qualified for the knockout phase of the Champions League on Tuesday. In what manner did they accomplish all these feats?
So this was tricky for especially Barcelona because they're playing against Porto, and they've had that deep in form. Remember the draw again over the weekend against Rayo Vallecano in La Liga. They were coming into this one. Confidence was not too high. But they knew they wanted to qualify into the next round as opposed to going to Europa as they did last season. And so this was an important one. And Porto came in. And Porto, trust me, in the first maybe 20 to 30 minutes, looked the most likely to score, looked the most lethal. In fact, they scored a goal. It was marginally offside, so correctly ruled as offside by VAR. And then they went ahead with another brilliant move, slicing through the Barcelona defense and took the lead. And it was at that time I noticed Xavi call Araujo to the side of the pitch and was just talking to him about, the positioning of the players and all of that. And then they went back in and they were a little bit more disciplined after that talk or that message or that information from Xavi Hernandez. But Barcelona found some brilliance. João Cancelo scoring the first goal and then João Felix scoring the second goal. And both of them beating the veteran on their national team side, Pepe. I don't think they'll be calling them for national team side if Pepe has anything to say.
Hello, Tega, would still like to get what did Manchester City do?
Yeah, Atletico Madrid was also fantastic, playing away and scoring a couple of goals. So brilliant performance there, even if they.
Okay, it's still the locker room on Smooth 98.1 FM.
A single one of them.
Thank you. So we got quite a couple of messages pouring in already. And so when we get back, we'd like yours to be part of it on 0809-444-0981. And special shout out goes to Surulere Daniel, who says, Tega, watching you guys from Dubai this morning. So you can see someone inside the locker room all the way from Dubai.
Welcome.
All right, there'll be more after now. So get your messages across after now. It's still the locker room on Smooth 98.1 FM. My name is Omatseye Atsenuwa.
It was cutting off, Abi.
Hello, Tega. So, what do you want messages? The ones I have here when we come back.
Okay, so let's just read two messages. Do we have up to two? Yeah, just read two messages so that more people will send messages, and then we'll continue with the stories.
Okay. On 0700 77684 387 or email businessconcierge@providence.com to switch to a future forward banking experience. Providence Bank, future forward banking. Excuse me. What does future forward banking innovation, convenience, lifestyle goals, or just simply getting service that is designed just for you? Hey, thought you might like all of that and more. That is why we specially created Providence Bank for you to take care of your daily experiences. At Providence Bank, we believe that banking should be all about you and your business and how to get you to the next level. If you do not already have a Providence Bank account, please speak with our business concierge on 0700 77684 387 or email businessconcierge@providencebank.com to switch to a future forward banking experience. Providence Bank, future forward banking. This is Paul, and you're listening to Smooth Breakfast. We're Smooth 98.1 FM. It's gone exactly 27 minutes before it is 9 o'clock. It's still the locker room, and Tega Onojiafe is still with me as we go over for a couple of messages. Tega, should we?
All right, so let's start with the first few messages. Let's take two messages first, and then we'll read more later.
I find Emeka Onelum's message waiting already, and it says from Amuwo, the same media pundits like Michael Owen and Alan Shearer that called Mikel Arteta a disgrace for disrespecting referees were the same people lambasting the ref that gave the penalty decision against Newcastle versus PSG. Their chairs could fill a basket. That's what Emeka Onelum had to say.
I'm telling you, look, what it is that everybody is always objective until it affects them. You know, so this was an English club that it affected. All of a sudden, they are seeing the incompetence in refereeing. Meanwhile, the incompetence in the EPL refereeing is so terrible that every weekend we are writing a new script. But they don't want to talk there. They should cry some more. In fact, I shouldn't even complain about PSG again. Let the referees continue to give dubious
premium tiers. But I find Toiv here waiting with a message, a very short one that gives us room for one more. It says, if not for the penalty, PSG would have crashed out yesterday. And that's where we throw in a short one also from AY from Muniru saying, FC Barcelona are finally free from the shackles of Europa League football. Thank you, Jesus. That's what he had to say.
All right, so let's take some of the next stories. You can send your messages to
0809-444-0981 will be where to send the messages. And then also go over to youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, then leave your comment and give us a thumbs up. We can see your message at any time of the day. But that takes us to Eric Ten Hag's urges Manchester United charges to keep calm in the Galatasaray cauldron as they fight for their lives in the Champions League. Well, things going in disarray when it happens.
Well, Manchester United have been on amazingly, despite the fact that, you know, people are still praying against the spirit of Manchester United to stop chasing them. Manchester United have actually been in a good place recently. Won a couple of matches. It hasn't been fancy. It hasn't been convincing, but it has been 3 points all the way. And so for a manager at this point in time, if you want to stabilize your team, you first get the results, then you start getting the performance. And so for Manchester United, today's results will be key. Beyond performance, today's result is more important. And so, yes, he's urging the fans to come out, support the team, because at the end of the day, your support is needed. So he wants the Manchester United fans to come out and support the team. And I like the fact that he keeps talking to the fans despite all that they're going through. Look, the team is in a tough place. Everybody knows that. But somehow they've been able to bring results. This weekend, they scored 3 goals. One of them contending for goal of the season. And so ultimately you want to, or maybe goal of the year, whichever one comes first. And so ultimately, what you want to do as a manager is to just rally the troops behind your team and then get your team in high spirits, and hopefully they'll be able to deliver the result on the pitch. Last time out against Galatasaray, it was a tough nut to crack. And so Manchester United will be looking to understand that the job is going to be hard at this time. Both the players and the manager, but they'll be looking to try, regardless of the opposition in front of them, to deliver the result.
While they try to deliver the result, we'll go over to Germany, where Bayern Munich's league win over Borussia Dortmund earlier this month proved key for the German champions' improvement this season. Coach Thomas Tuchel said ahead of Wednesday's Champions League group game against FC Copenhagen.
Well, we are hearing news out of Germany that regardless of what happens this season, that maybe Alonso could become the next manager of Bayern Munich. We are hearing. And so for Thomas Tuchel to say this, I don't know what he's also, at the end of the day, he cannot run on rumors. He has to deliver the performance, so he has to make a case for himself. But yes, Bayern Munich had a torrid start to the season, despite the fact that they had gotten a certain guy called Harry Kane. And at that time, before they faced Dortmund, it was questionable whether he was even going to last to the end of the year. End of the season is still far. And so he's saying that the turnaround really came when they had to play against Dortmund. And that's where they kind of got their mojo back, how Stella got her groove back. They got their groove back maybe when they came against Dortmund. And since then, they've been flying. Yes, there have been 1 or 2 games that they would have struggled at the start, but they've been able to score a lot of goals and get the results. In fact, Harry Kane is making more waves in now his goals are counting for Bayern Munich. They were not counting in Tottenham. They are now counting for Bayern Munich. And so the team is back in a good place. But they come up against FC Copenhagen. And Bayern has already qualified. So you understand the kind of pressure-less way you approach a match. Now he can brag that, Bayern, we turned the game around against Dortmund. But before then, his seat was too hot for him to handle. But now the team is in a good place. He's in a good place. They're scoring goals. They're winning matches. And he prays that it may continue. But we are hearing rumors that regardless of what happens, that maybe by the end of the season, Alonso, who is coach of Bayern Leverkusen, may be taking over. We wait to see how this story pans out.
But then that takes us to Arsenal. Arsenal requires just 1 point to advance to the knockout stages of the Champions League, and that is where the club should be, manager Mikel Arteta said on Tuesday.
It's an interesting one because Arsenal step up against Lens. Remember that Lens delivered Arsenal's first blow. They were the ones that snatched the points from Arsenal in this Champions League. And so I don't know if this is revenge or this is redemption. Whatever it is, it is something. And so Arsenal have to step up. And I like the way Mikel Arteta is saying that, that despite the fact that Arsenal was away from the Champions League for a while, that this is actually the level they should be playing. And of course, this is where exactly where their fans expect Arsenal to be. In the Champions League, they had it for such a long time. In fact, there was one time they're saying 4th is not a trophy until 4th was now unobtainable. Then suddenly 4th became a trophy. So he's right. A club like Arsenal, with the pedigree and the history of the club, should always play in the Champions League. Now, the hope is that they don't just compete, that they also find a way to win it, because they have not won it. And their London neighbours in Chelsea have done it a couple of times. And so Arsenal want to go further from just being in the Champions League to actually winning the Champions League. So it's good news to hear. What the Arsenal Lens matchup today would be fantastic football, because both teams play impressively. And so if you're going to pick a match to watch today that would entertain you, Arsenal Lens would be that match. But yes, all they need is a point. So if they can get a draw, then they're through to the next round. But I think they want to win their group, so they can avoid all the big names that are known to, or almost guaranteed to, knock them out in the next stage.
So while we allow Arsenal get ready and lay ambush today, we would quickly see if we can get some 3-pointers out of the way with this one. Measures to improve player behavior and increase respect for match officials were supported by the Lawmaking International Football Association Board IFAB annual meeting on Tuesday.
All right. So first of all, I would say this. I don't understand the sudden intense need for control. Because like I always say, you sell passion and emotion. You're not really selling football or sports. You're selling passion and emotion, and then you want to curtail the players as much as possible. And whilst I understand, don't surround the players, don't try to influence the referee, and sometimes players can get a little carried away. It seems there's so much attention on controlling the players, much more so than even getting the calls right. I've often said this, that the best form of justice or the best form of peace is to be fair. If players feel that they're getting the right calls or the fair calls, you will not see all this jumping and shouting and fighting. And so ultimately, whilst they're focusing on, I'm not saying IFAB shouldn't focus on sin bins and whether there should be yellow cards or red cards. I'm saying they should focus on trying to get fairness in the game, because a lot more calls are going awry by these referees. But yes, I like the way that they're doing this. Now, a red card normally will take you completely out of the game and out of the next match. And depending on how the red card came, it could take you out of 2 or 3 more matches. But if there are crimes where they can put you in the sin bin. Now, sin bin is just you will get off the pitch for like maybe 5 minutes. It's what they use in rugby. So you get off the pitch for maybe like 5 minutes, and then you come back on the pitch and continue to help out your team. I would love to see that. It'd be nice to have that, as opposed to maybe 2 yellows can equal a sin bin as opposed to a red card. That'd be nice to see, because sometimes those accumulated, especially if it's yellow cards for dissent, it's very upsetting to have a player to be one man down because somebody, talked back at the referee, or somebody gave the referee side eye and he didn't like it.
Bombastic side eye.
Bombastic side eye, and he didn't like it. It'd be nice for him not to miss the entire match, or maybe 10 minutes out, and let his team play with one man down for 10 minutes. That'd be nice to see. But it'd be interesting to see all these changes. But IFAB has ruled on it that they're going to go ahead with making decisions on what should be sin bin punishment. So it's interesting to see that coming to football. I've often loved that in rugby. The player will go out and sit down and think about his life for a while. And sometimes they come back and they are even worse.
Okay.
But
So
sometimes they come back and they're better.
Tega, in the final wrap now, can we just throw these guys into the bus or under the bus with this one? Liverpool.
Europa people, all these Thursday night football people that are taking our time. Thursday night football people.
Yes.
This is your competition. All right. So yes, Liverpool and West Ham, both English clubs, could qualify tomorrow in the Europa League if they win their matches. So Liverpool actually has had a almost easy ride in Europa, because normally the fact that you have to travel to places that do not have the same standard of the Champions League, whether it's in facility or it's in quality of football, those trips, those names you have to learn how to pronounce, the football matches you have to watch just to prepare for all of that, could be tricky on some of the top clubs. But Liverpool somehow have found its sweet spot in playing the Europa. So yes, it's a pretty good one. For West Ham, they've been upgraded into this championship, and somehow they found a way to bleed through. So let's see how it turns out for them on Thursday Night Football. And on that note, let's take some of your messages as we are out of time.
Cruz will come in with a message, and it reads, Tega, would you save being work for people like Sergio Ramos or Pepe? And he's rolling in laughter as we speak right now. Then Chimobi Victor from Alaba International says, UEFA denying Newcastle United the maximum point. There is no way on earth that PSG penalty was a penalty, while for Barcelona, they were just lucky to get the victory. And the final message, Mayowa from Ikeja, Newcastle moaning about unfair call. It's just the universe telling them that life now, by turn, we all good and fair officiating, not questionable calls. That's the final message, Tega. I need to wrap inside the locker room.
It's what I've often said. It will touch you. So before you start making mouth and celebrating other people's downfall, know that your own is coming around the corner. So just be careful. All right. On that note, I want to thank you for your messages. We hope we see you on Friday. We'll have more stories, more banter, and more laughter in the locker room. From me, it's bye for now.
Have a great day, Tega, and thanks to everyone who's been part of the show. My name is Omatseye Atsenuwa. Good morning.